The Opie and Anthony XM Walkover begins now.
There it is. Start walking, assholes.
Oh, all right, Anthony.
Oh, God, I hate this stupid thing. You could always tell when it's going to be freezing cold because we'll be doing the broadcasted walkover.
Yeah, this is brilliant on our part. We had, 6, 7, 8 months to do this, and then we decided to bring the walkover back as it gets cold.
And it hasn't really been bad the past few days of walking over, not like really cold. But today, again, we're doing the stupid walkover. It's really cold. I'm fucking freezing.
Did Jimmy even realize that there was a walkover going on?
What did he do? He just bolted?
He's out.
Good man.
If I know Jimmy, though, I think he's obsessing about his tickets, and he's in front of a computer. So far, 100.
How many?
130, 140. He's just going to sit there.
How many have I sold?
How many have I sold? I'm a meaty-breasted nothing.
Still the hustle and bustle going on.
Yeah.
This city's amazing during this time of year.
What is he saying?
What is he doing? Oh, is that crazy guy?
9/11 guy? Oh, my God. Why do we have to deal with you today?
All right, it's okay, Kenny.
What?
Let him talk.
How come they were still alive to jump out of the buildings if the fires were hot enough in that building to melt the steel?
What? They jumped out because it was hot.
If it was hot enough to melt the steel, how come they were still alive to be able to jump?
Dude, they jumped, and then the building fell hours later, or an hour or so later. So it was hot enough for them to jump, and then as the fire kept burning...
The official story said that it was thousands of degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, those people... Dude, those people that were on the thousands of degrees floors were dead instantly. The other people that were above it, as the fire kept burning, they got trapped and had to jump. That makes perfect sense.
Well, the official story said that the fires were very intense.
They were. That's what melted the steel or softened the steel enough to make the building fall.
Look, the way those buildings were built, they were built like a web. Steel is a good conductor.
Of what?
You need to heat up the whole. You need to heat up the whole structure before there's even any type of failure.
It was really proven by engineers that just enough heat to soften the metal was enough to make the floors buckle, and the support system for that building was such that the floors actually supported.
Is this why Stephen Jones, a physicist, found thermates when he was able to get a sample of the steel?
Are you saying that the building was demolished?
Hey, there's enough questions to warrant a new investigation, a new independent investigation.
What questions? Like, was it demolished? Do you think that it was a controlled detonation that brought the buildings down?
Of course.
So you say that for weeks in advance, people were planting explosives, and while people were working in the trade center.
There were many witness testimonies that said that they were on the weekends they would shut down the power of the whole building.
Yeah, but do you know what?
Look,
let me explain to you.
I know you say. I know.
Do you know what it takes? Do you know what it takes to wire a regular-sized building for detonation? It takes months, and they have to strip the building. They have to drill holes in the concrete and plant explosives, wire them all the way back to a detonator. How is that going to be done in a building that is carrying on business?
As you might know, as you remember, that whole... I am answering the question.
All right.
The building was not filled to capacity.
It doesn't
Many
matter.
people that came in on Monday found dust on their computers that they had to clean up, like there was construction going on.
Because there was probably construction going on. Like, I used to work in buildings like that. On a nightly basis, you'd go and change around air conditioning registers, and dust would fall on desks. It's a big difference, a little dust on the desk, and taking jackhammers, drilling holes in concrete and steel, and planting what would amount to thousands of pounds of explosives to bring down a building of that size.
How come the firefighters' testimony on the 9/11 Commission report was not even added to the 9/11 Commission report, stating that there were explosions going on?
There probably was. There was flammable equipment in there. There was mechanical units.
John Schroeder
and other things.
You can look it up on YouTube. John Schroeder.
That when concrete slabs are falling on top of.
Giuliani right now saying that he covered it up.
Really? What?
Saying
what did Giuliani
witness
cover
testimony,
up?
hundreds of witness testimonies saying there were explosives in the building.
Are you guys all together?
I don't think that there were.
No, we just give a shit, man.
Yeah.
Unlike you.
Oh, that's funny. You don't know the first thing about me, asshole.
Why are you defending the Popular Mechanics article?
I didn't say shit about this, asshole.
The Popular Mechanics article? I read that.
Don't fuck with me. Trust me. Don't fuck with me.
Why are you defending that article when it was written by nephew of Homeland Security,
I asked you a question. Are
What?
you guys all together, or you got someone just walking by? You don't know what
They're
I
all
think
together.
about 9/11.
I just want to hear what he says about the Popular Mechanics article.
The Popular Mechanics article was written by Benji Chertoff, who's the nephew of the head of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff.
Uh-huh.
And they fired the entire staff of Popular Mechanics article months before they printed that.
But wouldn't it make sense that you would get a guy that kind of would be able to have access to some information like that?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Like that guy. You said he's the nephew of one of the gentlemen from Homeland Security. So wouldn't you think wouldn't you think that somebody like that would have access to certain records and information that would give him a more accurate interpretation of what happened?
You're right. All his credentials say that, he wrote high school football articles for, his school paper, So I would understand why they would make him the senior fact checker.
Can I just ask you one easy question then?
What's that?
Isn't it easier to say that a few fanatics got on planes and destroyed our buildings instead of this vast conspiracy involving thousands of people and logistics that are nearly impossible?
Yeah, it's
so
really,
isn't it
really
easier
easy to say that? That's why that's what's used to.
No, it's not what's used. I'm not saying what's used. It's just what it was. Why can't it just be? Can you even accept for a second that maybe, I won't even say indefinite, that maybe that's all it was some fanatics that blew up some of our buildings based on their hatred of our way of life?
I did. I accepted it for a few years, man. But, after going into it and investigating things about it, it's clear
what
that
did you
there's things that are
investigate?
coming up.
How did you investigate?
There's
looking at
senators that are coming out
websites
saying that were part of the 9/11 Commission report saying there was a FARC. Bob Graham came out and said it was a FARC. These people have come out.
FARC. I love FARC.com.
Were the planes an illusion?
Yeah.
You know what? I want to believe the official story, but after reading parts of the 9/11 Commission report, not the whole
I read the 9/11 Commission report. It made sense.
It didn't make
It made sense
Why
based
was
on
Building 7 not mentioned in the 9/11
Building
Commission
7. The whole Building 7 thing is
when a
ridiculous, sir.
It falls in, what was it, 7 seconds? 8 seconds? Free fall?
Oh, here it is, the gravity thing. I've read that too.
No, it's not a gravity thing. I'm saying when it falls in 8 seconds, it's not mentioned in the report. Like, it's kind of strange. Like,
It fell because it was damaged by another building falling into the front of it. It was on fire for a while.
Why not investigate that? Like,
why investigate? It's part of the whole picture. It fell down. There was 2 planes that fucking hit buildings. That's what happened. There wasn't this vast conspiracy.
Right, man. Well, everyone that thinks this is crazy and you win.
Well, okay. I'm glad you could.
There's another guy.
Yes, sir. Oh, okay. One more.
Look, you guys obviously haven't done your research.
I've done. Wait.
Really
not obviously.
Books.
I have done a lot of research.
Good books. The New Pearl Harbor by David Gray Griffin. I would challenge you, David Ray Griffin. I would challenge you to read that, and then come back on your show and say what you disagree with in that book. He lays it out piece by piece. It's not just websites. It's not just a lot.
Yeah, but then you can read another book, and it'll give you a different point of view. I will not accept one of your little flyers. Have fun with that.
Check out 9/11.
Believe me, I've looked at both sides very thoroughly, and the one that makes the most sense is the easiest
you can't
thing.
Stand here and say what you're saying if that's true. You're being a gatekeeper.
You don't think that there were fanatic Muslims that hate our way of life that tried to bring down the Trade Center back in '93? So why don't you think that this is possible, that they succeeded and
possible that they beat $1 trillion defense system?
Yes, they did.
Some guys in a cave.
We were delusional thinking we were safe is what happened.
That's the crazy conspiracy theory,
No, it just doesn't make you feel safe knowing that with all we have in place, they got us.
19 hijackers from Saudi Arabia attacked us, able to score 4 hits in the most defended airspace in the world.
Yes.
So we invaded Iraq and Afghanistan.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Wow.
An honest question, not even to attack you. But if they were going to go through all that trouble, why not just go through the parking garages and do it the way they tried to do it in '93. I mean,
that
honestly,
was an inside job as well.
Hold on, dude. Hold on. You keep jumping up, but you're reacting emotionally. I'm asking you, if you're going to go through all of this trouble and you want to bring the buildings down, why not just go through the parking garages where you have so few people to neutralize and so few... Hold on, dude. Hold on. Think about it logically. You're talking about security and faking voices or doing all this shit to hide passengers. Why not just put explosives in the garage and knock the buildings down that way?
We're not claiming to know all the answers. I mean, that's why we need.
But I'm not even saying you should know that. But I'm saying that's when you're looking at the government, the same bungling government that, like, you know, if they were trying to do this to invade Afghanistan or Iraq, Jesus, couldn't they have come up with a better reason than leaving Colin Powell hanging with that awful uranium thing? I mean, look at how fast that story fell apart. If they were brilliant enough to pull off 9/11.
Yeah, they're too incompetent to pull off 9/11.
Could they leave Colin Powell hanging with that shitty, awful... I mean, it was an embarrassment for the U.S. government.
Look, invading Iraq wasn't the only reason that this was probably done.
We could have done that, by the way, without 9/11, because they had been fucking with the sanctions for years. So any time we wanted, we could have invaded Iraq.
Exactly. It's a whole strategy of destabilizing the Middle East and
we didn't need to blow the buildings up
here, chipping away at our civil liberties in the United States. It's not just about one thing. The towers themselves were not profitable anymore. They were white elephants.
Well,
that's
another.
You know,
but dude,
great,
when governments do things like this, it's a whole. You know,
but there's
a whole range.
You're
of
giving them a lot more credit than they're due. You're giving the United States government officials a lot more credit than they're due for pulling something off like this, my friend. A lot more.
The basic question of why, I mean, it's a really simple question, but you got to think about it. It's like the intricacies you'd have to do to pull this off as brilliantly as they did when they could have went through the parking garages.
Have you heard of Operation Northwoods?
No, I don't. Any of that stuff. I mean, I've heard there's a million little operations. They were going to shoot a plane down over Cuba.
Yeah,
I've heard all that. Yes,
and that was signed by the Joint Chiefs. So I mean,
maybe it was, but that wasn't a passenger airline being filmed. That was supposed to be done between the Cuba and Florida. Yeah. It's different. I'm not talking about.
But I mean,
that's a bad example.
Yeah, they bring that up. They bring up the Gulf of Tonkin. There's plenty of examples.
Stick with this basic question of why not go if they're going to plant things. Why would you plant things on the 90th floor, the 78th floor? Why wouldn't you just go into the? I mean, I keep saying the same thing, but if I'm thinking of this, and I'm not they would have thought of it. Why would you go through having to fake with voice recorders people leaving messages who said they were Islamic terrorists on the plane? There were people who said that to their loved ones. Why would you, all of the things that could go wrong, all of the people that would have to be involved, when you could get X amount of people into a parking garage and cover that up? I mean, you could literally do that with 20 people.
Now you're dealing with passengers on planes, family members. Like, it's a vast conspiracy that covers thousands of people.
They wanted to create a spectacle, something that was huge, that would be broadcast on TV.
Those buildings,
a catalyzing event, a real time, horror show.
Okay.
Something that could galvanize the people.
You're right. The terrorists absolutely wanted to show that. A huge event that was a spectacle.
Yeah, and I just want to find out who the terrorists are.
But dude, hold on, I don't want to interrupt
extremists.
You, but if that was true,
because the news media came on that day and said, "Oh, here's your."
Because we are hated by these people. We are hated by these people because of our way of life. They have tried in the past.
So that's your proof?
Succeeded in
evidence?
They have succeeded in the past at blowing up military installations, military equipment, and civilian equipment, and terrorized other nations around the world. It was our turn. They had planned this. We fucked up as a nation who should have seen it coming, and they got us. They got us. There's no government conspiracy
Andy, I
here.
would challenge you, sir, to read some of these books that are out there.
I have read a book, not the one you mentioned, but I have done a lot of research
on Pearl Harbor, the ones that lay it out step by step, because you obviously haven't done the research.
No, I have. Don't just pawn me, sir. Don't pawn me off as being ignorant because I didn't read the books you're suggesting.
Why are you ridiculing people that are trying to do something?
Did I ridicule you? We're giving you a forum. We're giving you a forum.
Roy Rowe on your show. You said he had mommy complex.
Yes, I said that. Yes,
that kid
I
was
did.
an
Yes.
ass.
Mommy complex.
Yes, I did say that.
Shame on you guys.
He's changed his
Dude,
opinion and facts. He's looked at
Hey, don't
pictures
yell at me,
and
man.
changed them. He's changed the pictures. It said, oh, this has no plane equipment in it. And then when people have shown plane equipment, he changed his story.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the Pentagon. Pictures with that show equipment that came from an airplane where he says no plane crash. And then the picture shows airplane equipment, and then he changes his story.
Pieces and engines in there and stuff. You know, whatever.
But I've asked you basic questions.
Whatever.
Dude, I've asked you basic questions.
Why do you guys ridicule?
I've asked you basic questions about basic questions about why would they do it that way, and you can't answer it.
Subject. You laugh about it. You joke about it. You ridicule it.
Dude, we're giving you a forum, and I'm asking you very serious, basic questions. Listen to yourself. You're being the angry young man. This is what you're doing. You're being the angry young man. No one's yelling at you. I'm asking you real questions. A gatekeeper? Dude, that's childlike rhetoric. I'm asking you real questions.
You're not taking this seriously.
Oh, see,
You're
stop.
not doing the research.
Stop with the angry young man routine. That's the rebellion against mommy that I'm talking about.
I didn't read the book you suggested.
That's the rebellion against mommy that I'm talking about.
Take your damn sunglasses off.
Oh, look, you're right in your little bearded, angry face. Oh, don't be such an angry young man.
He's angry.
You're losing the
guys should be
argument,
ashamed of
son.
yourself. You
Son,
really
you're losing
should.
the argument, and you don't like it.
I should be ashamed
We're
of
not
myself,
yelling
but
at you.
not for this.
For what?
You
Not
guys
for
got
this.
the microphones and everything.
So do
We're
you.
giving you a mic.
So do
We're
you,
not pulling the
sweetie.
mic away.
No one's yelling
You've
at
been
you.
able to say whatever you've wanted. We've given you probably more time than a lot of people give you.
Look at the
You know what?
angry
I
young man
appreciate
routine.
it, but I would just challenge you
Stop.
to do some more research.
You're no more
okay?
concerned than we are. You're no more devastated than we are. You're no more affected than we are, and you're no more informed. But you're coming off like this angry young
I'm
man.
no more informed?
Yes.
How do you
No.
know how informed I am?
Exactly.
I can see by your
That's the same
face.
argument I
You
had.
know how informed
I can see
am.
by your face that when I ask you a basic question, like why wouldn't they go through the garage? And again, I know you don't have the answer for that, but but I see your angry young man face, and you're just trying to prove your point from an emotional point of view instead of logically looking at it. You think I didn't look at that stuff? Of course it bothered me. Why wouldn't the U.S. government release that extra Pentagon footage? Because they do a lot of shady shit. That was a terrible move. I'm not saying that there's been no questions, but like, what if the buildings were hot enough to live? Why were they still? Why were they jumping if the buildings were too hot? Is a question you can ask in theory, but I can't ask you a question. Why wouldn't they go through the fucking garages? And you want to talk about it? Hold on. You want to talk about a spectacle? How about 2 buildings falling with 25,000 people in each? That's a bigger spectacle. Okay, they would have killed a lot more people had they gone through the garage and collapsed the buildings onto other buildings. That would have been a bigger spectacle to kind of counter what you said about an answer as to why did they go to the garage.
Or if they'd have set off the detonations when people were in there at noon or such and done it that way, they could have killed a hell of a lot more people.
I mean, to answer your question, there was an explosion in the basement before the first plane hit. This was reported by a man that was working in the building for 20 years. He thought a transformer exploded. People coming out of the basement with skin hanging off their fingertips.
I can only tell you that this is the first time I've heard that. I'm not saying you're lying.
It's in loose change.
Wherever it is.
I'm telling you, is a very slanted piece, dude. It's very slanted. It's very biased.
It's not just. I mean, look, it is everywhere.
Very biased.
There's also a film I gave you on the DVD right there, Mr. Norton, Terror Storm. It goes into the whole history of government-sponsored terrorism.
See, and I'm not even saying that governments don't
Admit it. You can find this on the CIA.gov website.
See, what I listen to when I hear like a guy like when I hear you talking, I'm listening to where you're coming from. It's like you're legitimate. Like you're almost saying that like that it's an impossibility that terrorists would hit the U.S. or that it could happen that way. Like you're all legitimizing their rage and like their anger and saying, well, they have reasons to be like instead of just realizing that maybe we are considered an enemy and they did catch us with our pants down.
Do you
Why
think
is that
the
so
USS
hard to
Cole
swallow?
was an inside job?
Yeah, or how about Tanzania and Kenya?
The embassies?
Well, the thing is, the U.S. funded Al Qaeda. We trained Al Qaeda.
Yeah, we know that.
Yes, and we also we funded Bin Laden, of course, but they were trying to kick the Russians out of Afghanistan. Yes, we did.
They were an enemy of our enemy at the time.
And we funded Saddam. We were friends with Saddam because he hated
them
Iran.
Against Iran.
Yes. We are guilty, like everyone else in the world, of being selective which sides we choose at times. Every country does that. I'm not saying it's right.
We're not
yes, we have done
whitewashing
that.
the American government here. Believe me, they've really done some awful things.
Whenever we need to invade a country, here's a a thing that happens.
Dude, the Russians
so conveniently.
The Russians fought us in Vietnam. We fought the Russians in Afghanistan. Well, of course. We have selective friends. I'm not saying we don't. No one's denying that. But that doesn't explain how they pulled off this. If this was an explosion that brought down a building, I might say. But
it's also been reported in mainstream media that the supposed terrorists were trained in spy schools in America.
Okay, but reported where, dude? I don't know anything about that.
They went to aviation school here because we were stupid and didn't do background checks on people.
Okay, so
the FBI actually was on to these guys, but they didn't have the communication set up between the CIA and the FBI. They slipped through the cracks. We fucked up as a nation. Our security wasn't as good as we all hoped and thought it was going to be. We thought that if a plane flew over the White House, that missiles would shoot out of the White House and shoot it down. And then we found out, much to our chagrin, that just wasn't the case. We were vulnerable.
Thing is, if we didn't have a foreknowledge of even having a thought of planes hitting buildings, how come when Bush was in the G8 summit in Canada, Geneva, they had surface-to-air missiles, and they shut down the airports.
They've been putting Patriot missiles
a year before
everywhere,
9/11,
everywhere where there are a lot of government officials, like at those meetings.
Yeah.
They put Patriots around to protect the fucking people from.
But they shut down the airport. That's never been done.
And planes being hitting into buildings is it's not a new concept. I think when the Trade Center was built, they built it to withstand a 707. So
right.
of course, that's
which
always
is not
been
much bigger
concept.
as a 760. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
not much bigger. I mean, even goodness, I've got the engineer's
name. Hold on, I'm looking at him like, why are you looking like we're having I just look at you like you want to come off with this angry thing, but we're coming at you logically. No one is screaming at you or shouting you down. So I'm curious as to why you're coming from where you're coming from. We're giving you a pretty fair forum, I think, in discussing this with you.
Well,
not to be disrespectful, but I'm asking. I'm curious.
Okay, well, I'm frustrated because you guys haven't done research. You're parroting the mainstream media and the official story, and I'm just trying to figure out how to get in and make some sense to you guys, because
it didn't bother you when I asked you about that. Why didn't they go in the garage? We're not parroting anything, dude. You're not the only one that has watched the news or that has read things online or that has investigated. You're not the only one that cares about this. You're not the only one that's... What do you think? Like, you're this brilliant guy who sees it and we're all these sheep? It's silly. That's pompous. And it's not realistic. It's not realistic to think that you're this enlightened genius and we're all just dummies who bought what Uncle Sam told us.
Sometimes
we care as much about it as you do.
The simplest explanation is just what happened. Sometimes.
But why are you
all
assuming...
the time.
This is what happened?
Because the alternative.
Told you?
No, because the alternative, the one you're giving me,
the
alternative that you're giving me is so fantastic and so impossible to pull off that it's not to be considered. No, I've done the research.
When you look at history,
dude, what happened to the people on the planes? Like, they were calling their families. What
it makes a lot more sense.
What is that? People calling their families, saying that there was a terrorist had taken over the plane with, how do you explain that? That's a very basic question I'm asking, which is something the government could have avoided completely by just going through the garage. But when people are calling their families and they're saying, we're on this plane, it's been taken over, how do you explain that?
Isn't there a 0.008 chance of a success rate of a call at that altitude? Didn't they do the research on that?
You can't make calls at that altitude.
They were coming down. They weren't at 30,000 feet.
They were very low, my friend.
They weren't at 30,000 feet. They were 15 minutes into the flight.
Very low.
And when they were coming down, especially for the second flight, they weren't 30,000 feet in the air when that happened.
Tops of the buildings.
You're acting like they were flying over Mount Everest. They weren't.
You can't make
that statistic that you're asking. Okay, that's a clever thing that you want to talk about parroting something. Why are you not calling her out for parroting 0.008 chance of a statistic when I'm asking a very basic question, which is, I've seen family members interviewed that said, my husband called or my son called. What is your explanation that these people who had their son or their husband or their wife calling from the plane? You're throwing out a statistic. What is your explanation for how that
recorded message on a home telephone?
You don't think there's any chance whatsoever that those might have been faked? Any chance whatsoever?
Faked phone calls from family. You're talking X-Files now, though.
We're talking about I mean, I'm trying to look at you.
That's a little intricate.
You wonder why people don't take you seriously. The phone calls were all fake. So instead of going through the garages and fucking with a few video cameras, the government faked phone calls, and yet they couldn't make Colin Powell look good. But by getting that shit, we saw a trailer with uranium in it, and it wasn't. And the whole theory fell apart, and the U.S. government had to change why they were in Iraq and look like assholes. So they couldn't figure that out, and yet, but they could fake phone calls and plant bombs in the Trade Center with no one seeing. You're giving the Keystone cops a tremendous amount of credit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, we're not saying that. I mean, we're not trying to make accusations here. We're just saying there are questions that are being asked that are not being answered, and they need to be answered.
Fair enough, and she's doing that right now. I'm asking a question I would like answered. Do you honestly, as an intelligent person, believe that the government was brilliant enough to pull off faking phone calls with loved ones in answering machine message form?
It would be a lot easier and a lot more convenient for me to take the assumption that I have faith in my countrymen.
No, I'm not asking that.
There are a lot of discrepancies. All I'm asking for is a new investigation.
Well, what I'm asking you is, that's again, talk about parroting. You're correct. There's a good word to use, parroting, because that's also parroting. You're doing exactly what he's accused everybody else of doing. You're parroting. Now, I'm asking you, forget the rhetoric. Do you really think, as a rational person, that they faked relationships and phone calls and that the family members bought it? Like your father or somebody could be faked. He happens to be flying that day, and the government's going to call you as the plane is going. I mean, does that make any sense?
I'm not taking one stand or another. I'm just not going to mindlessly absorb what I'm told.
But you just
You're not
did
answering
in
my
the fact
question.
that you're saying that it could have been faked. You're absorbing somebody's idea of something that's preposterous.
And I'm saying, as a thinking person, does that make sense to you? Like, no one likes the official version. We don't like to think that we really lost 3,000 people.
Got caught with our pants down.
We completely, no one likes to think
that. That version sucks.
that.
Believe me, that version stinks. I would love a different version. Unfortunately, I really believe that's kind of the version.
So I'm asking you, and you're saying, well, those phone calls, instead of saying, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, that would be a very difficult thing to pull off.
I can't say that it does make sense because it doesn't make sense to me.
So faked phone calls to relatives?
I don't know what the answer is, but it doesn't make sense.
Well, don't you know what the answer isn't? That it's kind of hard to pull off fake phone call.
You
can't
kind
just
of
gloss
throw
over
that one out the window as being not feasible or.
Look, I mean, I'm not saying that the planes were faked on the plane. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm not saying it's impossible not to fake phone calls. We obviously do have the technology to do such a thing. I mean, but
where do you get that information?
But wouldn't it just be easier to block the signal? Like, for instance, if we have the technology, which we maybe do, to fake these voices and interpersonal relationships to convince wives and husbands that they've spoken to their loved one in a dying moment, don't we have the technology just to block the signal so you don't have to worry about that? I mean, why would they, I mean, again, if we're discussing this, why would they take 40 steps when they could take 1 or possibly 2?
Yeah.
Look, all I'm saying is they're trying to make a big event.
But dude, stick with me. I'm going with what you're saying.
Okay.
But just try to work with me. You're telling me I'm not thinking things out. I am trying to think things out. And there are certain things that, as a thinking person, don't make sense to me. Why wouldn't they just block cell and all plane signals with that technology? Why, if going by that, if they possibly had that technology, why not just block the signal and save yourself a tremendous amount of explaining and possible error?
Thank God they didn't block the signal, because then people couldn't call Ticketmaster and get their tickets for New Year's Eve. Jimmy Norton at the North Fork
we
Theater.
all know that probably sold out already. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, why put all of those things to chance?
Maybe to really convince the fact that it was Islamic terrorists. Maybe to bring that point home. If you get rid of the speculation, okay, well, they called and it's obviously Islamic terrorists.
And you don't think the Islamic terrorists would be so extreme and so hateful that they would do something like this? Sir?
There is Islamic extremists. There is terrorists that hate this country. But the thing is, I want to believe the official story, but there's so many things just wrong with it. They just don't.
But your version, there's even more wrong with it.
There's no such thing as my version. There's a lot of things.
Or whatever. Let's say the opposition to the official story. It's so out there and complicated and impossible to pull off that to stick to that story is silly.
But alternative research, you're being given. Hold on. I'm sorry. Alternative research. Everything you guys are saying, we're trying to somehow rationally, like her thing with the phone call, or okay, let's walk through that a little bit. And all you guys are doing, go, well, we don't know. It's almost like you throw out a theory, and then when somebody like slowly says, okay, well, let's talk about that, when it's kind of proved to be ridiculous, you go, all right, well, we're not saying that that's the case. We just don't know what the case is.
I don't think you have proved it to be ridiculous. And
you didn't think my example? Hold on, you didn't think my example about the phone thing was pretty good? See, this is what the problem with you guys is. You never concede a point. You don't think the point I made to her about calling your relatives and faking a voice and an interpersonal relationship is a lot more complicated than blocking a signal. You don't think that's kind of a good point? Come on. Are you really going to tell me that? You're supposed to be a thinking man?
Here's what's going on. You guys are getting real nitpicky about little details and trying to call us out on this and that. When there's a bigger picture here, and maybe there's some we can agree on. There's been a serious lack of media integrity.
Nitpicky?
I'm
talking about your
media
points.
integrity surrounding 9/11.
You see what I'm saying? This is what I meant about the child.
I'll say that there's a serious lack of media integrity. Period.
Okay, period.
Okay, and especially concerning 9/11. I mean, they went on the next day touting the government's official story.
There was no
real investigation.
There was a lot of reports that came out prematurely. I watched that day, just like everyone else did. They were talking about how more planes were in the air, how this is going here, other buildings were blowing up. That they all turned out to be false because the media likes to jump the gun to get the scoop
on top of the White House.
To get the scoop on everything.
There were white planes on top of the White House.
Well, you know something?
Never been mentioned. But you can see that there's a clip on YouTube about it that was reported on CNN a little while ago, and they have a video of a white plane that they say was a B-52 bomber, but one of those doomsday planes that was on top of the White House, and there's no mention of that in the 9/11 official story either. And I don't even know what to think about that.
I don't know what to think about that either.
That just blows my mind.
Who knows?
A white plane on top of the White House.
Was it a plane that was at altitude that was getting ready to be brought in?
No, it was really low. It was just right on top of the White House. Well, look, you can see that clip on YouTube. 9/11 white plane.
I don't think obviously I don't think we're privy to every security measure that the government brought out after that happened. So perhaps it was some type of defense that they put up. I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea.
All I'm saying is
there should be another investigation because there's so many just unanswered questions. There's so many things that are just
are there?
So
but he accused us of being nitpicky, and this you're looking at. Well, it's a bigger picture. No, not with every issue you're talking about. A bigger picture, a higher morality is not what we're discussing. We're talking about specific things, and I'm listening to what you guys are saying, and you're saying I'm being nitpicky. That was a very valid question. You're accusing the government of mimicking voices convincingly enough to convince relatives that they've spoken to a loved one in a moment of death. Okay. And I'm saying, wouldn't it be easier to do this? And you're saying I'm being nitpicky and that you've somehow investigated further. It seems to me like you don't like to concede a point, or you don't like to be shown that possibly the way you're arguing is not accurate. You don't seem to like that. You're so desperate to hold on to this thing.
I think the big point here is that we need a new investigation. You guys could use your celebrity to call for a new investigation and to do some serious research into this subject.
I've already talked to you. You've convinced me of nothing.
You guys are cowards. I'm sorry.
Oh, don't be so silly.
Well,
you're being a little boy.
You're cowards.
You're being a little boy.
Because you don't want to look into this.
Did mommy and daddy not listen to you enough, son?
You're afraid for your jobs if you start talking about 9/11.
Little boy.
Dude, we're afraid for our jobs, but it ain't 9/11. Believe me.
That's not the truth. Now, and I think you know that. I'm looking. You really think that we're afraid? I am the one, you silly little boy who doesn't know, who screamed, "Let's get 9/11 people on here."
Me a boy?
Because you're being a little boy.
Old.
You called me a coward. I'll call you a little boy. Shh, take it, little bearded angry man. I get it. You're angry, man. I get it. The government's bad. I know I'm a piece of shit. I know. Shh. Oh, is he angry? No, be angry, son. Come here, son. Be angry, little boy. Whoa! The angry young man walked away. Do you see? Afraid for our jobs. I am the one that said, when we brought 9/11 people on at first, there was something about the Pentagon video I didn't like. I started talking about it on XM and said, let's get people and talk about it.
Right.
So that's just uninformed. And he's walking away, and I hope you have this on film, because he was getting his ass handed to him in an argument. No one is screaming him down. He's used to yelling and shouting and being dragged out of things and having people go, and no one's going to yell at him. No. I'm going to go every point he has and talk about it.
I mean, look, all 9/11 truthers are trying to do...
Just state your name for the record.
My name is Luis Baez. All right. Yep. I've been curious. Actually, I have been listening to the Opie Anthony show since junior high school. So,
but Luis, do you not see the horse shit of the angry young man walking away? I mean, come on, man. You're a coward. Like he's this bastion of freedom and bravery. No one's afraid of the government coming down on us for talking about 9/11.
The government isn't going to cancel our show for talking about 9/11.
What is he talking about?
Me.
That's that childlike thing that I'm talking about.
Look, just don't mention Condi.
And if we were cowards, we would have just not acknowledged it, guys.
Why would we
kept walking. We stopped.
Fucking,
Kenny
put his
got
arm
in
out
between you and us, and I said, no, let's
Kenny, let him talk.
Let's see what this is all about.
I love the dialogue because, and I'm not to put you down or anything, but I love having just an intelligent dialogue between people that have your point of view and the what you call official government stance on it, because you really give yourselves enough rope to hang yourselves with. We don't have to do much for your story to come off looking silly and looking ridiculous when you just talk. All you guys have to do is talk, and it doesn't sound good.
Really silly.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've said.
Maybe you didn't. Say anything silly, but you don't think him walking away dramatically, you cowards, doesn't that come off as kind of phony, dude? Like, we're here talking to the guy. We're giving him a microphone to talk into. Do you not see the horse shit in that?
You know, I don't want to speak for that guy.
I'm talking about you as a man. Don't you see the horse shit? Believe me, if Anthony walked away angrily and called you guys, but he didn't. He's standing here, and we're putting you on the radio.
That is true, but you know, I think what we got to get back to is the main point. Is even if you don't agree that, all right,
are we going to agree to disagree?
We can say we agree to disagree. I think the thing is, we should really have another investigation and look at some of the things that still don't make sense or are still kind of crazy, and take a look at them again. Spend some more money on this, because we only spent how many million?
$3 million.
$3 million. We spent more money on Clinton getting a blowjob in the West Wing.
That was important.
On this.
Okay.
That doesn't make sense, because a lot of people died, a lot of people are still sick, and I personally don't believe that we know the real cause of what happened.
Please tell me where he's going. Where is the angry young man going? Where is the angry young man going?
I don't know.
Is he going to pump his fist somewhere?
Hey.
Do you agree with that, though, that we should have another investigation?
No, I'll tell you why. Dude,
I mean, look,
I don't think we need investigation. If you want to go into security lapses and stuff like that, investigation as to how it happened, absolutely, sure. They've done a lot of that. Like the FBI and the CIA weren't talking to each other.
Better communication.
Tremendous problem in the U.S. government.
My question is, we go with your officials, what you believe. Yes, there was a humongous failure within our defense.
Tremendous, yes.
Tremendous. Why hasn't anyone been fired? Why hasn't? How come the people that are in charge of our security have not been reprimanded or anything?
I don't know about
but
that.
have gotten bigger budgets.
I honestly don't know about that. I would assume they have been.
I mean, that's another
I don't know.
question.
I don't know names or people that have these jobs, but I know a lot more money has gone to these security agencies, and thank God it has. I mean,
I'm going to use the term that you guys used when you guys got fired. You guys screwed up, meaning you guys got better positions when you guys got fired.
Right.
These people, when they messed up, they screwed up. They got more money.
I think that they've been pretty raked over the coals by the public, and I think it's a colossal embarrassment that
True, but they still got more
that
money.
weak.
Well, the agencies got more money. Good.
Donald Rumsfeld got more money as well.
Rumsfeld's out.
He's out.
Because people thought he was a
making
fucking
more
asshole.
money than he was before.
He mishandled the war. I mean, he did not do a great job, and he's out.
Oh.
What are you talking about? He hasn't done a great job.
He's done. If he's making more money, it's in the private sector.
I'm not saying he's done a great job, but he's gotten rewarded for not doing a great job.
It's in the private sector now. People want to see him. He's a celebrity.
You see
so what are you going to do?
About the guy not acknowledging points? Like I asked, again, a point about Colin Powell embarrassing himself in the United Nations about the African uranium. And that was a tremendous blunder that was very easily pointed out to be horseshit. And the United States looked ridiculous. I mean, and I asked him about that realistically, like, why all this brilliant planning and stuff, and then that?
What's easier to do? Plant explosives in the World Trade Center or plant weapons of mass destruction in Iraq?
Why wouldn't we have
turn
done
them up
that?
and go, aha, look what we found. I think it's easier
let's not
if we got this great intelligent government that could pull the wool over everyone's eyes.
Let's not forget that Ronald Reagan did sell Saddam Hussein
Absolutely.
Of course, because we're at war through them with Iran.
And by the way, we sold the Shah of Iran about 80 warplanes before the Ayatollah Khomeini took over. So when the Ayatollah took over, they had 80 of our warplanes. Thank God they couldn't operate them.
We love selling weapons.
Believe me, we've given weapons to some fucking dumb people. We're idiots. We like to sell weapons.
We've had to shoot down our own shit.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Look, I'd love to continue this and stuff. We're freezing, and we got to get back to the studio.
We would like to thank you for giving us the time.
Yes. No problem. Thank Angry Young Man for us.
I got a question. What was George Steinbrenner thinking when he brought Roger Clemens back to the Yankees?
That's a good question.
Answer?
What do you think, sir? Got no answer.
That's not what I'm here for, guys. I'm sorry.
You got a
He's wearing a Yankees hat. I had to ask. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir.
Check out the book Omissions and Distortions and Synthetic Terror by Webster Tarpley. It'll be great.
Infowars.com. wearechange.org. Check us out.
And as I said, I would tell people to go there because when you go to these sites, you do kind of see that it's
always fact check. You can always fact check. And
the facts change as the situation and evidence changes.
Read the book, though. Synthetic Terror 9/11.
Like I said, you guys usually give yourself enough rope.
You see that he's sulking over there, and what happened was he walked away, and nobody cared that he walked away, and he's sulking. What is he? What type of a guy arguing is that?
Jimmy. It ain't about him, Jimmy.
No, I know that, but he's kind of like that's
Jimmy. That's not what we're here, Jimmy.
No, I know, but I'm saying that's kind of what's wrong with a lot of the guys that argue that point. It's that man.
I'm cold. Why isn't there a government conspiracy that makes it warm in December?
Global warming.
Or November, or whatever the fuck it is.
Sign.
All right.
Well.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Man. Stay warm.
Thanks, guys.
Jeez.
Thank you, sir.
Oh my God!
All right.
So I can't believe I forgot the walkover.
Hell of a day for a walkover.
Take a break.
No. We'll keep walking a little bit. Do you want to talk to the angry young man, or are you done with him
already?
All right.
He's so angry.
Take care, man. Thanks for fighting the good fight, brave boy. Thank you. Thank you for not buying into what the rest of the dummies do.
You know what, Anthony?
Oh, he's walking away with a sign. Please film him walking away with a sign.
I'm on the air, sir.
Wait, this guy's so mad.
Oh, he is so angry.
No, this guy's so mad right here to your right.
Which one?
You just heard the whole thing?
Eyewitness. I just drove here from downtown because of these fucking morons. I saw the whole thing happen. Working right next door. It's bullshit.
Jimmy, you got him so he is so angry.
The little boy is walking away.
Let's talk to this guy.
Boy. When you called him little bearded boy.
Don't call me a coward, you jizz bucket. We're putting you on the radio.
I know.
Silly little
Let's talk to this guy. He got so pissed he came from downtown.
Well, what happened was the planes flew. I was working right there. I was outside drinking a cup of coffee. Saw the whole thing happen.
You saw the workers come out that just planted the explosives.
Yeah.
Dummies.
Planes hit the building. I'm watching the people trying to run from the fire, jumping out of the buildings. I wanted to talk to these guys, though.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? The one guy just walked away. It was fun to watch him sulk away.
Oh, dude. You know why? You got him.
I knew that. And
Whenever you get one of these guys, they fucking fold.
Like the other two guys, at least, were still trying to make their points, but they weren't being
And they were distancing themselves from the guy.
Of course they were.
We don't know about that guy.
Like, get away from me with that fucking angry little boy shit, man. That's that rebellion against mommy and daddy I'm talking about.
Yep.
It's not about the point of view. It's about that fucking that anger. And then when you point out, well, what about this? Well, you know, man, you're a coward.
You're
Shut your mouth,
nitpicking. It's
bitch.
a bigger picture. Well, the bigger picture is all the details.
Yeah.
So you bring up detail one by one, and they never have a fucking answer for him.
Of course they don't. And he walks away with his sign. It's like, hey, brave warrior, we'll put you on the radio.
Brave warrior.
Hey, reads everything. You got a radio opportunity in 2 countries.
Little bearded man.
Little bearded boy. Don't try to.
Bearded boy was great.
Who cares, little boy?
We should talk about who the real cowards are. Those guys would never bring that shit to the NYPD or anybody that's lost a loved one.
Go down to the fucking firehouse
or that guy. That guy is livid, wanting to confront him personally. He came in his van just to confront those guys because he saw the whole fucking thing go down. He saw the actual planes hit the buildings. And, you know, you want to talk about cowards. Why don't they take their cause downtown and talk to some of the eyewitnesses?
Holy shit, it's Eastside Dave.
You know,
how you doing, Dave?
We got to go inside.
Yeah. All right, we got to go inside. We must be late.
I forgot the walkover.
Yeah, I know.
I'm such a coward. I was scared.
Oh,
I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on that one.
I think that's true.
That guy's so brave.
Oh, you got him so angry, Jimmy.
You know how many hours I spent at the cellar arguing? Beat it. I can tell you a story walking, stupid.
With that, we'll see you guys upstairs. You know what I'm pissed off about, speaking of Jim Norton and what just went on the streets of New York? Pretty exciting stuff. When they start saying, you got to read this book, you got to read this, I'm like, well, you got to read Happy Endings. It explains it all.
Yes.
It explains it all.
Have you read Happy Endings?
Right. Just throw that into the mix.
There was two guys, there was three guys there, and the girl. And, the girl she was young, and she was just trying to mean
videotaping something for the
with
cause.
This really angry look on her face.
For the cause,
we should fill in the visuals now. There was a little girl there the whole time. She couldn't have been more than 5'1". She held the camera right at Anthony at first before Jimmy came back on the scene, and she had this really angry look on her face. Just really mad.
Angry?
But it's almost like you're arguing with the wrong people. See, we're not people that wear suits to work every day. We're not three fucking corporate guys. It's like, what are you doing? You stop acting like you're brave, motherfucker. You're not.
Yeah,
we're brave. Arguing with you. We put you on you guys actually at that moment put you on the radio.
We were brave to let them have their voice heard, man.
It's just one of those things where, they came. I heard a commotion behind us, so I'm walking and I'm thinking, what the fuck is this going on? And I look and it's like, oh, it's the 9/11 guys. And then Kenny stepped in. And I was like, no, let him come on. I want to hear him talk because, like I said before, the best thing you can do is let these people talk because they will just hang themselves, especially if you can sit and discuss with them. The worst thing to really do is just sit there and call them douchebags and assholes and that because they love that. They love being yelled at with nothing factual being thrown at them because then they could go, yeah, see, he's too afraid to talk or this, that, or the other thing. But when you confront them and discuss the whole situation, they fall apart.
Well, he said this is what the beauty of the guy with the beard, who I just loved because he was everything that I knew he was. I could look at him for 30 seconds and know what he was.
Sized him up.
And it was funny because the girl raises a point, which has been raised by them before, about voice masking. And I ask a very valid question about faking an interpersonal relationship with a loved one and convincing them. And I've seen these people interviewed, and you know what? I believe them. I believe the mother and father I heard interviewed who said they were talking to their son as that building hit, that plane hit that second building, and they said that their son was like going, oh my God. And I believe those parents. So for me to believe those parents, that means that the voice has to be masked. The relationship has to be faked. And so I said, all right, well, if they could do that, why not just block the fucking signal so you don't have to worry about that?
Yeah.
You're nitpicking. I'm taking what you just said and going a step further with it, and I'm allowing you time to talk about it. That's why when I got a nasty email or whatever, which is fine, from one of the 9/11 guys after I was calling them children, that's why. It's not that you don't agree with me, it's that you have this childlike way of arguing. It was like, I'm asking you fucking valid questions that I've asked myself. Why are you not asking that question? You think we don't do research? Hey, motherfucker, why not just put two big trucks in the basement and knock both buildings down into downtown New York? You would have killed 50,000 people.
Yeah, and do it when everyone's in there.
I shouldn't be yelling.
Do it when the buildings are full.
Yeah.
And don't give anyone time to get out.
And if you're going to bring down planes, you want to talk about a spectacle, bring them down with missiles. Why not, if you have all this brilliant technology and you can voice mask and you can hide bodies, why not just missile down a few planes? And why do you missile down planes with 30 people on them? Why not fucking get a few loaded 767s?
Fully loaded planes. They didn't want fully loaded planes because they didn't want to fight on their hands.
All right, listen.
It's too easy an explanation to not be a valid explanation. Sure, sometimes if you want to put a conspiracy together, you want it to look like it was easy. This would involve thousands of people that need to keep their mouths shut, and the government can't keep a leak fucking plugged when it comes to anything.
Scooter Libby couldn't shut up.
Yeah, she couldn't keep her fucking...
Listen,
I know.
gotta jump in here because the listeners are dying to get in on this.
Okay.
They just heard this for the last, over an hour, and they're dying to talk. John in Houston, what's up?
Yeah, hey guys, I just wanted to, I'm so proud of how you handle those 9/11, we're on XM now, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Those 9/11 I hate those.
And then his phone cut out when he cursed.
That's a conspiracy, man.
Man, they didn't want to hear me say
that proves the merger's going through.
We're cowards, man. We're afraid for our jobs.
Really, when you boil it down, they just want to feel special. They want to feel like they're the only sentient, free-thinking people in a sea of zombies who are all either in on it or duped. They want to feel like they're in the Matrix or the X-Files.
They want to feel like the Matrix, the X-Files. They want to be those 3 guys on the X-Files.
Yeah, they want to be the underground rebellion, man.
Yeah, like we know. Look, dude, we know. We'll get together in my basement. Ma, we're doing things down here. It's a conspiracy.
The one guy was definitely listening to you guys.
Yes.
And he had an open mind about things.
Luis.
And no, not the tall guy. He's like, you know,
okay.
I just don't feel comfortable with what they have told me.
Could you see him in the house going, this is a conspiracy? I know absolutely. And look at this picture.
Right.
What do you say, guys? Sunny D? Sunny D. Everyone upstairs for some Sunny D.
But Mom! All he was saying was, I don't feel comfortable. The other guy had an agenda. The little girl with the camera had the agenda. The Yankee hat guy. All those guys weren't willing to listen to anything.
No, I disagree with you about the Yankee hat guy. I think he was listening, even though he wasn't. I'm not saying he came over to our side. I don't think he did. But he wasn't. I don't think he was so irrational. But I don't think that none of it sunk in either. I don't think with the question of why not block that technology instead of voice faking. Yeah. I don't think that missed him.
Do you know how hard it would be? You know, they like thinking of this massive technological conspiracy. Look on a personal level. Do you know how hard it would be for somebody in some government agency deep in the Pentagon or underground somewhere coming up with Jim Norton masking technology to then call his mother and father, leave a message that not only would sound exactly like him, but like personally, you just would know it's your son or daughter or loved one or husband or whatever. You just know it. No one's going to fake it. They're not going to put fucking, they're holding Frank Caliendo in the Pentagon, and he's there blurting out people's voices.
So John Madden had to make a lot of phone calls?
We're on a plane here. Every time we're going to go boom, it's going to... It's not happening like that.
We got to get some of these people in. We got Chuck from New York City. Chuck, he's a cop. What's up, buddy?
Hey, guys, how you doing? I just wanted to thank Jimmy for putting that 9/11 in his place.
Oh, sure.
I got to deal with these people all the time, and I can't personally say anything to them on the street. I'll lose my job, get in trouble.
Right.
But he did a fantastic job.
I'd love to see him go to a precinct or a firehouse with that drivel.
Well, it's like he got angry and walked away. He stormed away. It was almost like he called us uninformed, and he called me a coward, and then I call him a little boy, and then he tries to rile himself up with, you call me a boy? Yeah, little bearded boy.
Now what?
Don't try to intimidate me, motherfucker. You're not frightening me.
Well, that's because he also looked over. He's like, fuck you. What's the matter? You lost?
Oh, little boy doesn't like what's the matter?
Little temper tantrum.
Don't try to intimidate me,
He's got some childhood issues, with his parents and stuff.
Of course he does.
In a corner or something.
He's a spoiled fucking white kid.
Yep.
All right.
Who are these guys at the door?
Keith,
it's conspiracy. See, the government came in and shot us.
Keith in Louisville.
Oh no! Now they're driving a car in.
What's up, Keith?
We're afraid to lose our jobs.
By far the best walkover ever, and I remember having to dodge these guys back in undergrad, all over the Waco thing in the early '90s, and they used to scream at us about Waco, and we had to dodge them on the way to class.
Oh.
But the one thing, Jimmy, is. And I don't believe that they were able to pull off faking all these calls. But the one thing I wanted them to say was if they were able to fake them, it would have been the perfect thing to do because it is what sold all of us on the fact that it really, really did happen.
I'll be honest, dude. I'm going to let you finish, but that's not what sold me. To be very honest, what sold me was watching the planes hit.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be a shithead about it, but honest to God, that is what sold me.
That sold me, watching the buildings burn for a while, watching them collapse. The entire scene is what sold me. The knowing that Muslim extremists hated our way of life, were planning things, had done things in the past, numerous things overseas and domestically, and to our warships, The Cole had been bombed, embassy bombings, the World Trade Center back in the 90s. And then this is just, it's a natural, unfortunately, a natural progression of what was happening at the time. So why can't they accept it? Why can't they just accept, hey, this is what happened?
And if they were going to hit the Pentagon and fake it, wouldn't they have done more damage? I mean, it's just, none of it would make sense.
No.
To fake like this.
I wanted to take up for the other two dudes. Maybe the little angry guy was carrying all the pot, and they didn't want to get cut off. They, called him out on the radio.
So angry.
Well, but it's like that anger. It's like, don't come at me with that stupid. You're no angrier than me.
Self-important.
Yeah. Stop it. You're not smarter.
He's
you're not
solving
angrier.
the problem. No, he's so much smarter, and he knows. You don't. You're a sheep.
Yeah.
We're all sheep and puppets and listening to the media. We're gatekeepers. Yeah. We're the gatekeepers, man. They made up a cool name for people that just fucking listen to the news. We're the gatekeepers.
Dude, we call out the media more than anybody.
And
we're the gate openers.
We're the first ones to call the media out on their bullshit.
Little boy, go yell at mommy with that gatekeeper shit.
Yeah.
I'm not a suburban housewife, you idiot.
Go to fucking Toys R Us and get a Sherlock Holmes detective kit and put the hat on with the magnifying glass and look for clues, you little brat.
Don't try those little argument techniques when I'm willing to listen to your point and then go, well, what about this? And instead of going, like, any rational person, when you say, wouldn't it make more sense, we go, yeah, that would actually make a lot more sense. But what they say is, A, you're nitpicking, B, you're parroting, when that's all they do is parrot. And Danny raised a funny point. He's like, they fucking say how you can't rely on the media for anything until something happens that sides with them. And they go, well, you look, it was reported in the media.
It was reported in the media that this happened. What, the media you just said sucked and that you can't trust?
You can't trust them.
Right.
Just plant a few weapons in Iraq, we would have looked good.
See, that was a whole nother thing, too.
Us now.
It's like we go to Iraq. And by the way, using 9/11 as a way to get into Iraq is ridiculous because at any time they had broken enough sanctions that we could have gone in. Yeah. We had planes flying over on a daily basis. There were planes flying over the no-fly zone. They were breaking sanctions. We could have bombed them at any time we wanted. We didn't need to do that. And if they were able to plant explosives in the World Trade Center, both buildings, while people are working to bring it down in a controlled explosion. You mean to tell me you can't get weapons of mass destruction into Iraq to say, aha, see?
Or a couple.
They didn't come up with any.
We look like assholes.
Idiots.
And in Afghanistan, we fucking boot the Taliban, and now they're coming back.
Yeah.
We have done a horrible job.
Terrible.
So what was the fucking use?
Because we're not good at that stuff. We're just good at conspiracies.
It's just, I don't get it.
Yeah, oil's $100 a barrel.
What did we do?
We did.
What did we want to do?
Well, we're good at mimicking.
Our plan is working perfectly.
We're really good at mimicking voices, though.
Yes, that seems to be what really came out of this imitation. I can't believe it sounded like the real victim.
Let's go to Idaho. James, they're calling from all over the country right now. James, what's up?
Hey, James.
And we're not, by the way, hold on. I want to make this perfectly clear because we get called out on this all the time. I'm just going right up the row. I mean, if someone agrees with those guys, they'll get through. Trust me.
Yes, they'll get through.
I'm not trying to fucking just take pro O&A and Jim Norton calls right now, or mostly Jimmy and Ann. I just yelled at the guy, and then that one guy ran off in fear. By the way, we didn't.
Oh, was that the bearded guy?
No, before you came back, one guy's like trying to say that, whatever.
Yeah, it was another guy.
And I just got right in his face, and he just took off. He didn't want any part of that.
He was the guy that bearded guy was talking to on the corner.
Oh, man.
Oh, he came back, the other guy?
He was standing on the corner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Another angry one that ran away?
Yeah.
Well, they get really angry and run.
That's what they do.
No one's beating you up, silly.
Well, I got a little pissed because he's like, you guys are uninformed and you're not smart. I said, you know what?
What? Tasering.
In traffic.
Oh, in traffic.
All right, go ahead, James. Idaho, what's up?
A couple things I thought was hilarious is one was when Opie was just like, don't mess with me, dude. I'm serious. You don't want to mess with me. And would just get so pissed off. And another thing was when one of the pink liquors, I don't remember which one, was saying, excuse me, was saying how funny it was that you guys take the littlest things and try and prove that it was real, the littlest nitpicky things, when every point they had was the littlest nitpickiest.
Yeah.
That you couldn't even believe.
Little minor details. And then when you argue them, they go, oh, well, those are nitpicking details.
Yeah, it's
talking about the big picture.
I was laughing my ass off.
It's amazing how they need a certain type of relationship. Here's what they thrive on. Very quick interactions.
Yep.
Like quick 1 or 2 sentences yelled at each other where they can hold up a sign and be the angry young man.
Blow out some stat that isn't back. They can't back up. They need a quick thing. They need to anger people to the point where they become irrational and they could stand there and go, look now, you're irrational. But when you give them a forum and actually debate them back and forth, they come off looking like idiots.
Well, it's like when that little girl, like he called us parrots, and then she said, well, isn't there only 0.008 what?
A 0.008 chance of getting a call through.
Where did you hear that?
Yeah,
Let me tell you
read that, right.
Some of the carriers I've had over the years, there's a 0.008 chance of a signal in my house.
Right.
Never mind on a plane.
Hey, let's go to Rick in New Orleans. Rick? Nolans, check it in.
How y'all doing this morning?
Hey, Rick. All right, Rick.
Look, normally, you guys, I love you to death, but your politics normally drives me crazy. I'm screaming at the radio all the time. But I got to admit, y'all were more than fair to these guys today. I don't believe their conspiracy stuff, even though I disagree with your politics. But y'all were more than fair to them. You didn't ridicule them today. You gave them more than enough fair chance, and they destroyed themselves.
And I only, to be honest with you, I only started really insulting that guy because of his attitude. The other 2 guys I didn't agree with, but I wasn't insulting them.
No.
But the white dude with the beard who you guys couldn't, you could see like when I was talking about one thing, I could see that he had no answer for it, but wouldn't say like, I don't know what that is. Then he goes into this other rhetoric, and he was the guy I had a real problem with because he's everything I'm talking about when I say spoiled children. Not the other 2 guys. Luis and the other guy, I don't know if the guy was an Indian dude or whatever.
Could be a little misguided, but...
I don't agree with those dudes.
Yeah.
But I think that their motives are a little bit cleaner. I think that guy is trying to portray the angry young man and be a leader of some sort.
Yeah.
He wants to be a leader.
It makes him feel like he's got a mission.
Yeah.
He's leading a pack of people that are way in the minority, that think that there was this vast conspiracy, and he's going to be the guy that exposes it somehow. Right. It's like his dream of being this a superhero. And he's the guy that's going to crack this open.
Yeah, and it's like when you argue, like, Kennedy conspiracy I've gone back and forth with, because I've read a lot from both sides, and I've even said, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm actually leaning away from a conspiracy in the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% convinced either way. But it's like, when you talk about conspiracy theorists, you really have to know your shit to argue with a conspiracy theorist, because a lot of those guys have very rational explanations for everything that happened, like to prove a conspiracy. And when you hear people that know all the facts and argue with a conspiracy theorist, then the conspiracy theorists look stupid. It's almost like you really have to know shit to argue either way.
Yeah.
They both sound rational. I can see why you'd feel either way. But on this one, after arguing with these guys, I can't see why you feel that way.
Fox Dolder.
Hey, Rick, thank you.
I thought it was very funny.
Who's Fox Dolder? Thanks, man.
Let's go to Mike the
X-Files
trucker.
joke.
Yeah, Mike.
That guy was a dolt.
Oh. Mikey.
I would like to say that 2 Girls, 1 Cup was an inside job, and if you guys would just open your eyes and read the book The Brown Stain of Shame by McCupples.
That's right.
You would see too.
What's the special about it called? Loose Stools?
Yeah. You know, I'm with Mike though. I think there's an old switcheroo going on in that video.
Oh, now see, come on.
I'm sorry.
Look, Opie, what's the matter? You can't accept the fact that that's a real cup of shit and girls are eating it?
Study the consistency of the shit after it went into the cup and they do a cutaway.
Look,
it looks
the
more
commission
like ice
came
cream.
out and said that's real shit in
it
that
looks
cup.
more like ice cream to me at this
Listen
point.
to me. She's throwing up into the other girl's mouth.
Well,
What do you think they drew the line? Like, I'll puke into her mouth and she'll eat it, but the duty thing has to go. Take it out of the contract.
Well, yeah.
Why would they fake the voices? Why not just shit into the mouth? I don't know what I'm talking about. You guys are being glib, man.
If that guy was the typical man, like when I do that, that is him.
The beard,
man,
and the wounded shot, like the angry, wounded look. It's like,
believe the government, man.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not your fucking 58-year-old lady neighbor.
But I love to see him try to explain himself out of a beheading, sitting there in front of that god-awful flag.
Can I jump in here for a sec? because someone's pointed this out, and it's absolutely true. I got out the easy way, and I'll explain, but let me read the email. Norton and Ann are arguing logically, and Opie does, don't mess with me, asshole. And that was the only point that got through to them. They didn't talk to Opie for the rest of the time. Brilliant, Opie. Well done. I'll tell you why. Like Jimmy said, to argue with conspiracy guys, you have to know your shit. I don't know my shit when it comes to this stuff.
Oh, I meant for JFK, not for these guys. These guys, you know enough to argue with them. I meant JFK.
But I just couldn't be bothered.
I just love letting them hang themselves. It's great.
I can't be bothered with that stuff because I just know nothing ever gets accomplished. It's so fucking... I get so frustrated that I can't be like Jimmy where he goes, and just calms everybody down and listens to him. I'm just not that guy. I don't have that personality. I get frustrated, and I don't want to deal with it because I know they're never going to see it any other way.
The good thing is, though, especially on a forum like our show, instead of just, if you're in a bar arguing like that, it really becomes frustrating. But I like the fact that on this forum, on our show, you get to expose people like that so that maybe somebody who's teetering and is on the fence isn't just going to buy into that shit automatically. Do your own research and shit, absolutely. But just don't take their word for it like that. It's ridiculous.
It was funny when he said, well, you got microphones, and he said it into a microphone. It's like, we're not asking you to talk to a construction cone on 57th Street, you fucking cunt.
Did we ever pull the mic away?
No!
Did we ever pull the mic away from any of their faces?
Oh, it was just silly.
I want to bop them on the head with it.
What a douche.
Here's a guy, Mike on Long Island.
Here's a guy.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, man.
I've been listening to you for a damn long time, 1027, back in like 99, 2000.
Linger longer. Nice.
The important part here is I'm a jet mechanic. I was in the Air Force for 4 years. And I'm telling you, there is absolutely no way the Pentagon happened the way it happened. There's no way a fuselage can blow through a wall that's so solid that it's going to make engines totally disappear. It's impossible.
Can I ask you a question, though, about this? And I'm not a mechanic, obviously.
Yeah,
I did see a video. It was a military test video, an older one, where they show up, because the people have raised this argument about how it wouldn't demolish if it hit concrete.
Yeah.
And this was not a passenger plane. This was like a military fighter.
It was a F-4 Phantom.
Oh, you know the video.
Yeah.
And they showed it flying into a solid brick type of thing, and it did disintegrate.
It was...
Well, here's the thing. The whole thing would disintegrate.
Yep.
The fuselage is hollow. There's no way a hollow fuselage would penetrate a wall that's going to totally evaporate turbines. Turbines are made of titanium. They're almost impossible to melt down.
They found engine parts, dude.
They didn't find the engine parts from those planes.
Yes, they did. They found engine parts.
How small those engine parts were?
Dude, they found engine parts. They found turbine blades.
From commercial jetliners.
Yes, they did.
They were not.
Holy
I saw the video.
shit.
You see, they were small. You could pick them up with your hands.
Dude, there are pictures of emergency workers and firemen walking around debris that is obviously airplane parts. There is a picture of a wheel hub. And they, hold on. There's a picture of a wheel hub at this Pentagon site. And they matched it exactly to a 757's wheel hub.
Right.
They put a picture of that wheel hub next to the picture of a 757's wheel hub, and it matched perfectly.
Well, that's great, but how would a fuselage bust through a wall that an engine can't? Tell me.
What do you mean? The engines did bust through the walls. Where are you getting your info from? There it is. There's the wreckage of the wheel hub found at the Pentagon. I'm looking at a picture. The top row shows it. That is a picture of the wheel hub. The bottom is a 757's landing gear. Look at the rim. Look at the hub. It's exactly the same. It was a 757.
What do you think happened then, dude? Like,
yeah, what do you think happened?
Anthony said something that you kind of blew off. Like, they did find that, and you go, okay, well,
no,
what do you think?
I never saw any credible footage.
And there were parts of the fuselage that showed a side panel, windows. It didn't disintegrate. The clip that me and Jimmy were talking about with the Phantom flying into a cement wall,
right.
That's concrete. That's supposed to be a security check for a nuclear reactor.
Oh, is that what? Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was thick fucking concrete, not brick wall of a Pentagon.
Right.
And it was doing, like, supersonic speed into this wall and completely disintegrated into dust.
Right.
That isn't what happened at the Pentagon. It went through a brick wall. It went through windows.
What went through a brick wall? If all the engine parts were on the outside of the building.
No, it wasn't. It was in the rings. The Pentagon's made up of rings.
Right.
And it was within the rings they found parts of the airplane, of the jet.
Why was the hole so small? The hole is only big enough for the fuselage to go through. The wings and the engines did not make it through.
No, you see marks on the building where the wings went through. The plane didn't hit direct either. It didn't hit at a 90-degree angle. It hit at an angle, so it doesn't look like this cartoon version of a plane going through a wall where it's a perfect silhouette of a plane. It hit on an angle.
Right.
So that's why you're not getting this wingspan definite line on the building. But the fuselage parts were there. It hit at a high speed, and it hit a brick fucking wall. So, yeah, a lot of it disintegrated. But there were enough parts there to identify it as a 757.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's...
They have 3 different video cameras that the FBI, you saw that, right?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't like the Pentagon.
Yeah, I saw
either.
that.
They only showed that
one.
one.
If they have the video, then why would they release one shot from around the...
It's horrible video. It's so slow from a surveillance camera that you really only get one frame where you see a blurry object. It's very hard to see what that is. If you ask me, I think it's odd that the Pentagon doesn't have fucking cameras everywhere.
I guarantee you
that
they
would have
do.
caught that.
I guarantee you they do.
They do.
And they haven't released it.
And
But you
if
got to
were
think,
a plane,
why
they would have released them.
No, I don't necessarily agree with that, dude, because the government does, and I'm not saying it's right, but why they conceal certain things, whether it's for their own security, they don't want to show you where their cameras are, or they don't want to absolutely show you how fucking weak the defense was around that building.
Maybe.
I honestly don't know, but to me that's a flaw in the thinking of the government. That doesn't mean it didn't happen.
What do you think it was that hit the Pentagon?
A missile.
A missile. What? Now, let me ask you something. Let's just deconstruct this for a minute. Why would they use 2 aircraft on the World Trade Center and then hit the Pentagon with a missile?
Because everybody's going to see the World Trade Center. Everybody's in New York.
But why take the chance? There's rush hour traffic going through D.C. at that hour, a highway next to the Pentagon. Why take the chance that people are going to see a missile and not use an airplane? Where is the airplane that supposedly crashed into the Pentagon? Where are the people that died in the crash of the Pentagon? Where is all that?
Well, that's the question.
No, it's not. It's not a question. They're dead. They're dead. Their families have not seen them since.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't put it past them. If they were willing to sacrifice the lives of the 2 planes that went into the World Trade Center, I don't put it past them to sacrifice the people that were on.
Now, how are they sacrificed? You mean to tell me that the FAA and all the air traffic controllers saw a plane that went off the radar and then, flew very low to a point where it went somewhere? Where did that plane go?
That's the question.
No, it's not a question.
No,
it flew into the Pentagon.
If you're a jet mechanic,
holy jeez.
When the planes went into the World Trade Center, they had to land like 50,000 planes that were in the air, whatever it was. Maybe it was like 4,000, 5,000, whatever. It's a lot of planes.
And they kept track of every single one of them except the one that's supposed to fly into the Pentagon. Where did it go?
Well, according to loose change, it landed in Ohio.
This is what I'm trying to get you to say. It landed in Ohio, and then what happened to the people?
Yeah, they filed them off, and I guess they executed them all.
Now, sir, is that not the silliest thing?
I didn't spend 4 years figuring this plan out.
No, dude, but listen to this. If
they're
going
working
to
in
go
a
through all that,
sweatshop in Cleveland,
if you're
making Nike sneakers.
I just feel bad that they had to go to Cleveland.
If you're going to get people to be silent about executing other American citizens getting off a commercial airliner, why not just say it was a missile and set up an Arab?
Yeah, exactly.
Why deny that it was a missile? Why not just say, and there was a missile attack, and then make it look like paint a complete picture that Al Qaeda did it? If you're gonna fake that, why?
Because they're not that advanced. They have box cutters. They don't have missile technology and the ability.
Who has box cutters? Who has box cutters?
The terrorists on the planes had box cutters. They didn't have missiles.
Wait, how did? No. How? But we're not talking about the terrorists. We're talking about the government. There are no terrorists on the thing. Remember,
you said.
Well, that's right. There aren't any terrorists. I forgot that.
Like they shot the missile.
Right. So I'm saying, well, of course they have technology. Bin Laden's a billionaire, dude. He came in. They're not broke.
How would he have a cruise missile in Washington?
Exactly.
Well, then how would they land a plane and convince people to kill American citizens without talking?
And dude, now no one saw.
They couldn't keep Abu Ghraib a secret.
A couple of nude fucking savages on a leash.
Lindy England piles people in a pyramid and has a few laughs.
Come on.
The whole fucking thing falls apart.
Has a few laughs. Points with that thumb.
Military guys do fucked up shit like that.
No.
Yes, they do,
oh my
sir. But
God.
you're right. But in the age of
you got Halliburton and you got KBR and you got all these the outside forces, the mercenaries that they're hiring.
Yes,
there's just as many of them as us in Iraq.
But bro, hold on. That doesn't count for landing a commercial airliner in Ohio, in the U.S. and nobody's seeing it. You're implying that air traffic control or that the Ohio airport that it landed at didn't see it, and then nobody worked in the hangar.
Never saw the plane.
And where did they back the plane out into?
But there's an explanation on the instant feedback. The people in Cleveland and the plane, they all went through a wood chipper. Right here in Brainerd.
Right in Brainerd.
Right here in Brainerd.
We could take care of it right here in Cleveland.
But dude, do you see how ridiculous it is?
Get me a wood chipper.
Break it down logically.
Easy. I understand there are a lot of questions, but when I see the picture of the Pentagon being penetrated by a plane that, like I said, the engine parts that I saw were not the turbines from commercial.
You saw what you wanted to say.
They look like from a helicopter.
Is it possible?
We saw what they've matched them up with. It's easy to look at a picture. It's simple. Children could do this. Anyone could match it up just by looking at it.
You're saying that somebody matched them up. Who did? The government.
But dude,
no, there are photographs.
Those pictures fit?
Oh my God, everything has to be fixed. You're going into 8 billion things that had to have been done in complete silence and security for all this to happen. Oh, so the picture I'm looking at right now of the rim that's in the wreckage is faked. Instead of an easy answer, a 757 flew into the Pentagon.
Well, it's not an easy answer.
It is an easy answer. People that hated us figured out a great fucking plan and fucked us in our ass.
And he denied it as soon as we asked him. If he wanted to do it, and he wanted us to know he did it.
Who denied it? Who do we? What do we call up a cave?
Yeah, Bin Laden. We didn't call Bin Laden. We were trying to get Bin Laden handed over to us. The Taliban said no, so we attacked them. And let me ask you a question.
The first interview they have with him after 9/11.
Who interviewed him? Who fucking cares what he says?
Oh, okay.
Dude, honest to God.
You know, where is the plane, though?
Here's the thing. When they finally came out with Bin Laden's video that he said, yeah, I did it, it didn't even look like him.
You can't rule out the Bermuda Triangle.
Let me ask you a question.
Let's be honest.
That's true, too.
If you say that they look like helicopter parts,
yes.
The government is claiming a plane hit the Pentagon, so to make it look real, sprinkle helicopter parts and hope that nobody notices?
After this vast conspiracy of landing people and executing them, they go, we got a box of helicopter parts.
Yeah,
let's just sprinkle them around.
We forgot to bring parts. Do you understand why we think this?
No,
God.
I got it. I understand why the whole country and the whole world is duped. Nobody wants to believe this. It's hard to believe.
It's impossible.
Believe me, I don't want to fucking believe this. I fought for my country. I was in the first Iraq War. I don't want to believe this. But believe me, if you go to AE, the Architectural Engineers, AE911truth.com, they will spell out,
of course
from
they
an
will,
architectural point of view, how there's absolutely no way these buildings came down. And Anthony, as far as putting all those explosives in the buildings, if you see what the actual structure is, the backbone of the Twin Towers is the elevator shaft. The elevator shaft is all you need to blow up.
Oh, stop it. You mean to tell me the World Trade Center rested on its elevator shaft? I've been in construction for many years, dude. I might not have been at a level of the World Trade Center, but I know damn well that they don't bear the brunt of the weight of a building the size of the Trade Center on its elevator shaft.
Well, maybe you should look into it.
It was something called a center core that ran up, and the outside of the building itself was all. No, hold on. Dude, listen to me. The middle part was a structure made of steel. The outside was also structural. That's why the windows had to be so small. And between that were metal beams that ran and held the floors. They all got soft and fucking bent and collapsed, and the floors falling on each other made the buildings fall. If anyone tries to convince me that explosives were placed in there to bring it down in a controlled blast, I've seen enough controlled explosions and what it takes to do that. It's impossible to rig that building. What?
Did you see what they look like when they go down? Because they look just like the Twin Towers.
No, it doesn't. It does not. Watch a fucking controlled explosion. Watch the Twin Towers. You will see and hear pop, 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 pop. You'll see the light, and then you'll see the building collapse in a controlled explosion.
And you didn't hear the popping?
No, you heard a heavy fucking rumble of concrete turning to dust, and you saw some sparks from flammable objects, friction and whatnot. Not fucking a controlled explosion. And how do you get that shit in there when people are working?
The CIA had their headquarters in the buildings. It's
oh my God, the CIA.
Dude, the CIA guys wear suits. What do you think that they...
shit.
Do you think,
oh my God.
Dude, do you think, honestly...
Did you know that they...
Dude, hold on. Do you really think a bunch of CIA guys were running around while people are on their typewriters wiring 110-story buildings to fall down?
Insane? What do you think the CIA does?
Why not just go through...
What do you think they do? Obviously not pay attention to Muslims that are in this country training on airplanes.
And I'll tell you what else they don't do. They don't have good cover stories for Colin Powell.
They have shitty cover stories that make them look like a douche.
I'll tell you what else they don't do. They don't plant weapons of mass destruction well. So we don't look like dickheads in front of the whole planet.
Mike, what do you say to the NYPD and the fire department here in New York and all the volunteers that were actually collecting airplane parts down there at Ground Zero?
No, I'm not saying airplanes didn't go into the trade centers. That obviously happened. We all saw it.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't think even that happened.
No,
so.
well, that's crazy.
Well,
thank you.
There are people that do think that's even crap, so...
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's just insanity.
All right, dude, can we just...
Look, I've videoed
agree to disagree.
the whole day.
No, I got even a better solution.
Yeah?
Today. I think we all need to take a breath.
Uh-huh.
And if he doesn't have this ready, he is fired. I think we all need a Lopeweiser.
Wow. Let's rock.
Can we all agree on a Lopeweiser? Mike,
dude,
can you agree on a Lopeweiser?
What's a Lopeweiser?
Oh, Jimmy, you've missed so much.
Jimmy.
Being a star out
it's
there.
A Lopeweiser.
It's a Lopeweiser.
Just enjoy it.
You got Lopeweisers for everybody?
Oh, look at he's freaking out.
Come on.
And it's
no
not
ever
E-Rock
prepared. Oh, E-Rock.
Oh, I got it?
Oh, yeah. Wait.
You did?
I think
do
I
what
heard
I told you. So
bit
then
of a Lopeweiser.
Now I got to apologize to E-Rock. Where is it?
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. Because his feelings were hurt.
Come back tomorrow.
Hey, E-Rock. There you go.
Lopeweisers.
It's one. Oh.
Jimmy?
It tastes so good.
We didn't say that there's alcohol in them, so I think you could have one.
No, there should be cum in them. What is a Lopeweiser?
Well, the radio show that replaced us in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Oh, my God.
I have an Ant-Stel Light.
Wait,
they give people Lopeweisers.
If you tell me that people call the Loper show and say, I want a Lopeweiser, I'm going to kill everyone in this room and then myself.
People don't call. He just offers them up.
Really good sound effects, though.
Yeah.
Was it a shotgun? And then fucking a Pez? What is that, you fucking...
And then fizzing.
Cunt. A Lopeweiser. It's a shot of cum with blood in it.
I just have to say this, sir.
Ush. 911truth.com.
Ush.
All right.
All right, let's wrap this up.
All right, Mikey, thank you.
Enough.
I think we gave you some good time, all right?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Thank you. And he's gone.
Let's go to Doug in Austin, Texas. Doug.
Yeah. How you guys doing?
Hello, Doug.
All right.
I worked 2 years next to the Pentagon. That stuff is not fake. The building's reconstructed. You can see the new construction. These people are losing their mind. I just want to know if they could come in for the dumb off with Rich Voss.
Yeah, well, would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
They got to be dumber than Voss.
I'm stunned that people cannot just accept what happened. I would love to think that this country, and we all would have loved to have thought, this country had the security that we always thought it did, where the grounds of the Pentagon opened and these super missiles shot out and would save everybody. It didn't work. We had our pants down. That the CIA and the FBI talked to each other and could have weeded out terrorists that were taking flying lessons in our own country.
Well, all I can say, too, is, it's a pissing contest between government agencies. They're not going to talk that way. I work for the government.
Well, they do a lot better now. They've uncovered some nasty shit. It's amazing, and they say it all the time. They say the terrorists only have to be right once. It's like we have to find every single terrorist plot. But one only has to slip through, and it's a huge event.
I'm trying to keep some of the funny in here. Brian has a great one from South Jersey. All right, as angry typing guy. Because I see the guy in Discovery say it was so. And the gravity argument. How do you make things fall faster than gravity?
Fall faster?
Unless you're putting, like, rockets on the debris as it's falling.
As it's falling.
When people come at me with that one, well, it fell faster than gravity, I'm like, oh, boy, I gotta go to the gym and work out or something. I can't be bothered with this. How does that... seriously.
That's where they assume that all the floors are detonated at once. And instead of the floors hitting each other and pancaking like they did, wham, 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 wham.
Right.
That can only fall at a certain speed. But the whole thing fell like it was free falling.
You know how funny it would be? To, like, say you have some 9/11 conspiracy videos and you start like a minute of it and then you just show the guy getting fucked by the horse in Seattle. That to me is more believable than a big horse cock went through the Pentagon.
It was a big horse cock.
Oh. The first video on that site he mentioned, I thought, oh, man, I'm way off. I really thought I was going for normal.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
You douche. By the way, because the government has this voice technology, Dan, you do realize that you did not talk to Mother recently.
Holy shit.
That was a conspiracy.
She was awfully pleasant.
Of epic proportions.
The first clip they have to disprove everything is Dan Rather saying that number 7 looked like he's like, we've seen this before when they've demolished buildings. So if expert Dan Rather was confused.
Dan Rather. And the fact of the matter is, to the layman, it would look like a building being demolished because they didn't tip over. It didn't fall over. It fell straight down.
In its own footprint.
Yeah, in its own footprint, as they say. So if somebody in the news is describing it as that, you don't take it literally that what they're saying is that it was a controlled explosion. It looks like something we're familiar seeing, which is a controlled explosion. But they just eat that shit up and go, yeah, see? Dan Rather said it. Shut up.
He also spent 20 minutes on his coat
collar and lapels.
Trying to make sure he looks good before he goes on TV.
Dan Rather is a bucket of jizz who's now suing for $70 million. He should shut his face.
Yeah. What's the frequency, Kenneth? Hey, Mike, North Carolina. See?
Mike?
I don't know what's going on in North Carolina, but they love this stupid show.
Hey, gotta love it. Hey, listen, guys, I was in the Marines for 6 years, did 2 tours. You know, I saw these terrorists.
Hurrah! Hurrah!
Hoorah. But listen up. My biggest point is if these idiots honestly believe that the government and our country purposely killed all these people, and especially that moron who said they emptied a plane load of people off and executed them, why in God's name would you stay in this country?
Who's staying here if they have to carry out execution of innocent Americans?
Of some guy with a fucking TWA bag.
He's just standing there with his carry-on.
Do we take the carry-ons or do we leave our laptops while we're being mass executed?
Yeah, I would have to...
Why do these people want to stay in our country? You know what?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if they think our government did it, you know what? I'm sure Iran is looking for some more citizens. You guys feel free. Go move over there. I'm sure you'll love it.
Thank you for flying United Airlines. Thank you for flying. Come again, please. Thank you for flying. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Thank you for flying. Just go. Watch your step, miss. Thank you for flying. Thank you. Thank you for flying. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
They're just going to shoot everybody?
And how is a flight attendant who they had that long tape conversation with where she's going, yes, our number 1 has been stabbed, our number 2 is dead. However, she's talking about the pilot. Is that a voice thing?
Acting lessons.
It's just silly.
Acting lessons, shooting lessons.
By the way,
I want to do with these guys, these conspiracy theories. I want to sit them on my lap and go, what's the matter, little fella?
Yeah. What do you need?
What is it?
A hug.
As we were talking about that, by the way, the MSNBC had an interesting story. Some guy's not allowed to have his Get Osama license plate on his car.
Yep. Motor vehicle told him no.
He's not allowed to
They don't
Get
because
Osama.
You are not allowed to have what they deem offensive words on your license plate, your personalized license plate. And they saw that as being offensive. Get Osama. What?
And then
How is that offensive?
And then we got the British teacher in Sudan. We never got to this.
This
today.
I love. I wish they were going to be caning this woman, but unfortunately, I think they're just going to put her in prison for naming a teddy bear, having her class name a teddy bear, and that they decided on Muhammad.
Right.
And there's people in the Sudan calling, and Than raised a good point. Like, what did you say? Like, you think that they can't behave irrationally, and there's thousands of Sudanese calling for her death.
Calling for her death, waving machetes around, yet it couldn't have been that mentality that brought down the towers and the Pentagon. It was our own country.
Well, let's get the news story out there so everyone knows what we're talking about. It's quick.
54-year-old Jillian Gibbons was found guilty of inciting religious hatred and sentenced to 15 days in prison for naming her classroom's teddy bear Muhammad. The lawyer for the British woman arrested in Sudan says his client never meant to insult the Islamic faith. Gibbons' lawyer describes her emotional state after receiving the guilty verdict.
She feels calm and I think she's expecting that because we told her that, and she's expecting that because there is many people are shouting out in the street and so and so. So I think it's even serious for
her. Now, her lawyer plans to appeal the guilty verdict.
God, that appeal will go well, I'm sure. She'll get 10 years.
Yeah. They'll give her a clitoral circumcision. Fucking idiots.
Hey, here's
that is I am glad because when these do-gooders go into these savage countries and try to deal with these people as if they are human fucking beings, I cherish when they get fucked over by their own do-goodness and think that they're going to be treated rationally by these fucking savages. She probably goes there thinking, I'm going to do good, I'm going to teach the children, this is going to be great. And she's some dumb, fat English broad. So she goes there, and they have a little naming of the teddy bear. The class decides on Muhammad. Someone rats her out. And they were talking about giving her 50 lashes. And when it made the news, people got outraged, and I guess they sentenced her to 15 days in prison, which over there has just got to be a treat. And I say, good. This should be a message to everyone to not even try to fucking deal with these people on a rational level. They are just not, they're not in this century. They live in a whole nother century where it's okay to just crack women across the face with sticks, chop people's heads off and hands.
Or like that Saudi case of the woman who was assaulted.
The woman who was raped. There's a woman who was raped in Saudi Arabia, and they sentenced her to prison because they saw her as she enticed them. They saw her as enticing them.
They're a lovely culture.
Yeah, a lovely fucking culture, isn't it?
A lovely group.
Hey, let's go to Keith in D.C. Keith.
Hey, guys, how's it going?
Welcome aboard.
Hey, I just wanted to say I'm tired of all these people calling in. My wife works for DIA at the Pentagon, and she was in the parking lot when they all saw the plane coming, them and a whole bunch of other people sitting on, I think it was like 295 or whatever road goes past there, all just watching the plane. I don't know, I don't know how you can do.
You do realize
a missile.
You do realize your wife was brainwashed, right, by the government.
I don't think
It's not your wife, dude.
Yeah.
They built a replacement robot and put her voice chip in there.
Stepford wives. Let's remember Stepford
Yeah.
wives. It's
Could
not
be
really
done.
your wife.
And we're not all big, gung-ho government people, but good God, this is not a setup.
Your wife's a fembot, baby. A fembot. I saw it on
A lot of people
Talk.
calling saying, hey, I saw the plane hit the Pentagon. What? All right, what? The Osama thing, did we do it? We got the audio.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did it right?
We did it.
All right.
I have to go home.
Oh. Wow. We spent a lot of time out there with those douchebags.
Yeah, show's over, actually.
Yeah, man.
Damn.
I have to make a phone call.
And we want to make sure we get.
Call.
We want to make sure we.
Call.
Huh?
Oh.
I have a conference call.
You sure it's going to be the people you're calling? And not voice technology switching
Well, if
fucking shit?
Let's hope that they voice technology and say yes. That's all I can say.